It's our final season in Brazil. We were aiming for domination. Did we achieve it? Let's find out. Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I am frankly FM84 and in today's episode we're going to be looking at season 5 in our 5-year plan out in Brazil managing Red Bull Bragantino. If you haven't already caught up with the first 4 episodes, go back and have a look. Whilst you're there, maybe hit the subscribe button, hit the like button if you like what you see, and come on back to this episode when you are fully caught up. If you are already caught up and you're raring to go, you want to know how we got on, as I alluded to in the opening intro, we wanted world domination. What can we achieve? Let's jump on in and have a look. Here we go then. We have landed on the end of season review for the 2024 season. As you can see, there are 5 trophies in front of you, which means we have had a successful year. We're going to jump straight on in, have a look at the signings, the players who came in and helped us with the glory, and the players who left and helped us with the transfer budget to buy those players. So when we go straight on in to the new arrivals, you can see that our star signing for the season was Roberto Jr. He's a 20-year-old centre-back. Let's have a little look at him. We managed to get him from Sao Paulo. I think we paid 6.25 million for him. He has come in and been an absolute beast at the back. He played 53 games, he scored 7 goals, had 7 assists for a centre-back, which is amazing. Had an average rating of 7.17. We also signed Nelio, who is another 20-year-old centre-back. Another bargain, really, when we only paid 5.25 from Flamengo. He played 46 games, 8 goals, no assists for him, but 7.12 rating. We also had Clemens and Ravi. He is a 19-year-old striker who can play off the left or the right wing. We snapped him up in a bargain for 7.5 million from Sao Paulo. He came in halfway through the season, so he played 25 games with 14 substitute appearances, scored an impressive 18 goals in that time, had 4 assists and a 7.01 rating. And then the next signing on the list is one that I am very, very proud of. Lazaro is a player that you may have seen on my video over on the FM network, where I recommended him as my number 1 wonder kid from outside of Europe, or players that you hadn't seen before. He came to us relatively cheap for 10.5 million. I tried to sign him at the start of the save and he wouldn't join the club as we didn't have a big enough reputation. However, as we have grown in stature, so has the club's reputation, and he was more than willing to jump ship and come and join us as a 23-year-old. Well, he was 22 at the time, a 23-year-old attacking midfielder now. So he has played 60 games this season, scoring 32 goals with 12 assists. A 6.98 rating is deceptively low. There are times when he was on fire and he just could not stop scoring, and there were other times where he was so-so, but I suppose a 6.98 overall is a decent rating for a 23-year-old who is only growing in stature. We also signed George Henrique. He's a replacement, which we'll get to in a minute. We had to go and steal him from Sao Paulo for 4.2 million. Again, a fantastic signing. Brazilian under-20 international. 19 years of age currently. Paid 4.2 million for him. He played 35 games and had a 6.93 rating. Just one quick note before we move on to the players that went out. If you can see over here, the board were disappointed to sign Riquelme, which doesn't match up with what Roberto Jr. is. There we go. Changed it now. Roberto Jr. was a B+ signing and the board were very pleased. If we go to Lazaro, the board were extremely disappointed to sign Lazaro. We paid over the odds, which is probably the truth, but if the board were realistic about it now, looking at his 60 games and his 32 goals, following us to all the competitions that we've won, I don't think that they can have that opinion anymore. So looking at the transfers out, if we sort them by amount, maybe. Okay, so if we sort them this way, the reason that we had to sign the goalkeeper, the under-20 goalkeeper, was because Gabriel Brazao ended up moving on. He moved to Al Ittihad. The 7.5 million. This is another flaw in the Brazilian transfer system. He had that contract clause. We couldn't do anything about it as soon as it was activated. Tried to offer him a new contract, turned it down. He ended up moving on. Keiki was another one. We were confident we were going to be building around him. He's a centre-back with bags of potential. He was a wonder kid when we signed him. Everton come in. As soon as Everton was sniffing, we tried to offer a contract to get rid of the clause. We knew straight away he was going to go. I think there was 3 or 4 English clubs: Everton, West Ham, Chelsea, and somebody else were in for him. And as soon as I seen the list of clubs, I thought one of them is going to snap him up for the money. They tried to lowball us and offer us 4, 5, 6 million, and then we worked our way up to the release clause because we just knew he wasn't going to sign a contract. And then Calvin Wellington, who I alluded to was a naughty boy at the end of the last episode, he ended up leaving for 5 million to Tucumán. He has gone on and played really well for them, but yeah, he was complaining about his playing time, thought he should have been a first team regular at the age of 18 in the reserves. So as soon as the offer came in to move him on, we moved him on for £5 million. Move over to the season results. This is where it gets very interesting. As you can see, we have won the Serie A again. We won it with 88 points, beating Palmeiras by 1 point. There was a few games towards the end of the season that looked dicey, where it was going to go either way. As soon as we dropped points here against Ponte Preta and Bahia, there was a real doubt that we were going to win the league, but we finished strongly with 2 wins, got 6 points, and got over the line to win by a point. In that time, we had a win record of 27. We drew 7 games, lost 4 with a goal difference of 57, mainly down to Lazaro, Peglo, and Yuri. The board were absolutely delighted to win the Serie A once more. They give us an A+ for that. Nothing else they can really say. We really, really played well to win that league. Like I said, a few dodgy moments at the end, but it was a very good overall performance. We also won the Paulista Serie A 1. It says there that we won it by 8 points, but obviously once we get out of the league phase and into the knockouts is again where we come alive. We did struggle in the final, in the first leg away at Sao Paulo, but as soon as we got back on home soil, 2-0 win secured the league for us there. And again, get a B- to that because the board won't be judging you on the team's performance in the competition. The big one, the Copa Libertadores, has also come back to Bragantino with the team, and the board are absolutely chuffed with that. Give us an A, they're delighted. It became pretty clear pretty early that the Brazilian teams were going to be the ones that were dominant in this. We drew Fluminense in the group stages, and we drew both of those games, which were difficult games. The only ones that we actually did draw in the groups phase. And then as soon as those draws were out the way, we won every other game along the path. We beat Newell's Old Boys, combined 7-0 on aggregate. We beat Sao Paulo 4-1 on aggregate, beat Flamengo 5-1 on aggregate, and then beat Palmeiras on penalties in the final on a neutral venue. So again, chuffed to have retained our Libertadores title. We really wanted domination for this season, and we have delivered. In terms of the Recopa Sudamericana, we are also winners of that for the first time in the team's history, I believe. We had a 2-legged affair against Estudiantes de La Plata, and we beat them 5-2 away and 3-0 at home to win that, which is the equivalent of the UEFA Super Cup. The Copa do Brasil, we won that as well, sweeping away everybody in this tournament. We beat Sierra 5-0 on aggregate. We beat Palmeiras 5-2 on aggregate, sorry. We beat Santos 5-1 on aggregate. And we beat Flamengo in the final 3-1 on aggregate. So another Copa do Brasil has come back to Bragantino, and the board were delighted with that. Give us a B+ there. And again, we won the opener, the season opener, against Palmeiras 7-2 on a neutral venue in the equivalent of the Brazilian Charity Shield. So for moments to remember, our biggest win again was a 7-0 win, this time in the Libertadores, which was a brilliant performance. Let's have a little load up of the game and look at the goals for this one. So again, another team, another small team that got a real battering at the hands of us. Goals came from everywhere. There's the first one for Yuri Alberto. Danilo's bursting into the box here, lays on the assist, and he ends up with Ivany. McCormack scores a penalty and tucks that away nicely. Yeah, poor Alianza just could not hang with us. We were dominant all over the pitch, and again, it's a case of when you're winning 7-0 in the Libertadores, you see the difference between the big teams and the little teams, and unfortunately, they really just couldn't deal with everything that we had going forwards. You can see we were scoring goals, not just tap-ins. We were dominating the game, scoring from outside the box. Our match to remember was a 6-1 win against Sei Catano in the Paulista Serie A 1. Let's have a look at those goals. Another dominant performance here. Had 30 shots and 14 on target in this game. So Lazaro's dancing around in the box, lays it on for Roberto Jr. to get the first. Then Roberto Jr. gives it to Alberto. It falls to Lazaro, who tucks that away right-footed. Lazaro is a special player. When he joined the club, he had some seasons at Flamengo where he doesn't look spectacular at all, and his stats hadn't really flourished. But as soon as we brought him in and got him into the first team, he started to develop quickly. Just needs first team games, and if Flamengo weren't going to give them to him, we already knew the ability of the player thanks to the video that I'd already done elsewhere, and we said thank you very much. 10.5 million is a bargain at this stage. And then goal of the season came in a 5-0 win against Null's Old Boys, where Clemens and Ravi dribbled from inside the Null's half, takes the ball past two opponents before coolly scoring an incisive finish from 15 metres. So let's load up that game and have a little look at those goals as well. And again, this is a game where poor Knowles got blown away. So we started off with Lazaro with a tap-in from Yuri Alberto. Assist, Vanderson. Then assists for Clemens and Ravi. And then I think this is the goal that's going to win goal of the season. He's beat one man, he's beat two. And then right-footed, slots it into the bottom corner for a fantastic finish. There's another goal there. I think that was Nilo. And then Peglo's finishing off the scoring for the 5-0 win. So a very impressive game and win against North's Old Boys in the Libertadores. Onto our finances. So the club have maintained a 4-star reputation. We are still a continental club. There's no new sponsorship deals for the year. In terms of our annual revenue for sponsorship, it's up to 9.25 million. Our broadcast revenue is down again to 25.19. Our corporate and hospitality is up to 96.98. Competition prize money is 34.16 million, which is up from last year. Our match day commercial and retail is up to 278,000. Total merchandise sales was 1.51 million this year, 151,000 non-domestic, and we are selling more shirts than ever, with Peglo there being our number one shirt sold, with 10,641 of those shipped out. In terms of the way we lined up across the season, I'm not 100% convinced that these lineups are the true lineups that should be there. Some of these players hadn't played. I think it's hit and miss, but according to this, it's Brazil in goal, Pedrinho, Realpe, Holter, Vanderson, Raul McCormack, Araujo, Peglo, Ricardo, and Alejandro, which is strange because, as you can see on the left-hand side, Alejandro only actually made 2 appearances all season. He scored 1 goal. So how Lazaro wouldn't be that player, I do not know. One note around Alejandro, we were building the team around him, and then some Chinese money came in. There was a £30 million bid that came in that we accepted, and then he turned down the move to China, which we thought was good, but then he started moaning about wanting to leave the club, which was why we went and bought Lazaro, and it all worked out well in the end for us, not so well for Alejandro. So, as you can see, the player awards, fans player of the season, yet again, is Luke McCormack. He has turned into a superstar, and he's a player that probably goes under the radar because he's at Chelsea, and he's one that I am firmly going to be putting on my lists in the future because he has turned into a bit of a worldie. Peglo was the young player of the season, another one that should be on lists because he has been fantastic for us. Roberto Jr. won signing of the season as a 20-year-old enthusiastic centre-back. Clemens and Ravi got goal of the season for that wonderful dribble and finish. Peglo was top goal scorer with 38 goals. Ivany was top assister with 21 assists. Peglo got 10 man of the matches. Peglo also got a 7.3 average rating, and Danilo had 58 passes per 90 minutes. In terms of competition awards, we've got Luke McCormack was the best Brazilian foreign player award. Yeah. Yuri Alberto was the Recopa best player, and the Artilheiro de Campeonato Paulista went to Lazaro. In terms of record breakers, most overall goals in the season has gone to Peglo with 38. Most league goals in the season has gone to Peglo with 27. Lazaro has got most goals in a match by a player with 4. He also has most in a league match with 4. Raul now breaks the all-time record appearances with 206. Alejandro has most league goals by a player with 93. Let's move on to history in the making. Okay, so it says RB Bragantino started better than anyone would have expected and continued in that vein, storming all the way to the title. You can see our trophies proudly presented in the middle, and it said that we looked a class above in the first couple of months of the season. Few will have expected the outcome, but they gave themselves a chance and reaped the rewards. So that's the season review, all done and dusted. We are going to go on and look, as ever, at the squad, the finances, a little bit more in depth at the competitions, and we're also going to have a roll of honours to round out the series. The first place that we will start is with Serie A. As you can see by looking at the league table, we were pushed all the way this season by Palmeiras. As I mentioned in the season review, there were a few dodgy moments at the end of the season where we dropped points that I thought, we're not going to do this. But luckily we managed to get over the line with a bit of a consistent run right at the end. And it's another championship in the bag, and it's step 1 of the domination that we achieved this season. So if we look at the player stats, it looks like it was an average season, but it actually wasn't. We only have Peglo, who scored 20 goals, being on the goal scorers list in joint second. And we have Vanderson, who had 3.84 tackles per 90 minutes, down in second place there as well. I don't know whether it was a case of we had a bigger squad, we spent more money, so we spread it across the squad a little bit more in terms of performances, but it doesn't really matter. As a collective, we got there, we achieved what we wanted to do in Serie A, and we won another one of those. If we go and look at the Paulista Serie A 1, we beat Sao Paulo in the final 5-3 on aggregate, and we did a bit better in this in terms of the stats for the players. We have Lazaro with 13 goals, Ivany chipped in with 6 assists. We have Ivany also covering 14.7 kilometres per game, which is quite impressive. And Gabriel Brazao had 5 clean sheets in this competition. So if you look at the right-hand side, that's 4 out of the 5 seasons that we were at the club that we have won this competition. We do really, really well in the regional championship. So very, very pleased to have added another one of those before we jump out of the save. In terms of the Libertadores, you can see we won on penalties there, a 1-1 draw in the final. Didn't play very well, scraped a goal, then tried to sit on a lead, conceded, and it went all the way to penalties. Luckily, we came out on top. We have, again, not great stats in terms of the players. So we've got Yuri Alberto with 6 assists. We have got Luke McCormack and Justin on the yellow card list for 4 apiece. And Ivany, who is one of the hardest working players at the club, did 4.35 kilometres per 90 minutes in the Libertadores. It was a brilliant season in the competition, and to win it back to back, if we look at the list on the right hand side, Sao Paulo are the only other team to have done that in 21 and 22. Palmeiras have won it in 20 and 23, and there's no Argentine club on the list since River in 2018. So the Brazilian teams really are dominating this competition. So to be able to come out on top back-to-back seasons, it's a fantastic achievement there. With the Recopa Sudamericana, we won 8-3 on aggregate against Estudiantes. We were very impressive in a one-off game there. So it looks loads of stats, but realistically it's a one-off game, so there are only 2 teams that go on the stats board. But another one to add to the list. And then in the Copa do Brazil, we beat Flamengo 3-1 on aggregate in the 2-legged final. And again, on the right-hand side of the screen, you can see that we have successfully defended that title as well. So we won it in 24 and 25. And it's a big achievement for the club, as it means more silverware. One other competition to mention that's not on the list there is that because we won the Libertadores last season, we qualified for the FIFA Club World Cup. And as you can see on the screen, we were drawn in a group against Barcelona and Santos Laguna. We actually managed to beat Barcelona and Santos Laguna to get 6 points from 6 in the group stage to qualify. Unfortunately, as is the domination of Brazilian clubs, it meant that we got drawn against Flamengo, our old nemesis, who knocked us out in the quarter-final stages. I think the tournament was won overall by Manchester City anyway. Yeah, Manchester City against Real Madrid was the final, so no Brazilian club getting to that. However, I think given a couple of years, and if we have another couple of entries, I think we could have progressed further. We were just getting to the point in the save where world domination was on the cards, but still, that was what happened in the Club World Cup. The next thing for us to have a look at is the club's finances. We are going to be jumping out of the save now, so let's see how we've left the club. It's in a very, very healthy position, and the board should be very happy with the way that we have handled the finances. So the overall balance is £51.8 million in the bank. 24.9 of that will be available for future transfers, with a £496,000 wage budget. We are creeping up in terms of paying player wages. We're up to 375,000 spent, so it's come a long, long way from the opening budgets, but we've built a team that is absolutely fantastic, and the board cannot complain. We've got money coming in, and Red Bull are pumping in the money too. So in terms of a team, if you manage the finances correctly, buy the right players, sell the right players, I mean, we could have made a lot more money if we didn't have the silly release clauses for 7.5 million and 11 million. We could have sold on those 2 players easily for 30 million to European clubs had they have not had the release clauses. So the finances are good, they are healthy, but they could have been a lot better. The next thing we're going to look at is the team report. This is a little bit throwaway. Our assistant report says that our best 11 is George Enrique in goal. I agree. Pedrinho left back. I agree. Roberto Jr. and Realpe. Not 100% sure that's our best partnership. Justin at right back. I agree. Raul and Danilo in central midfield. No place for McCormack, who is a superstar. Araujo, Peglo, and Alberto in the attacking 3 options. They're probably about right. And then Alejandro up front, which, as you saw from the season review, he only played 2 games and 1 goal, so that can't be right. So what we're going to do instead is go in and have a little look at the players that I mentioned and show you why they should be in the team instead. Mr. McCormack is the first place to go to. So we signed him from Chelsea in an absolute steal of a bargain. We snapped him up for £165,000, and he has just delivered season after season after season. If you look at his average ratings, 7.12, 7.45, 7.45 and a 7.24, he has just been Mr. Consistency all across every single season. Chipping in with goals, he managed to get 40 combined assists in back-to-back seasons, so 21 one season, 19 the next season. He has just become a superstar and an absolute steal for peanuts. He's one that should be on everybody's list to look at in their saves, and I'm sure that I am going to be doing that every single time that this 5-year plan comes up. I think Mr. McCormack might be one of those players that we look at and try and manoeuvre a deal for. In terms of other players to look for, Lazaro, as I said in that video that I did for the FM network, he is an absolute monster. For some reason, Flamengo, weren't playing him, so it looks like the first couple of seasons have stalled in his career. He only had a combined 30 games, a combined 30 games for Flamengo at the start. He showed flashes of brilliance in that one season where he had 12 games, 3 goals. But this is the season where he has been in our first team from the get-go. He's played 60 games with 32 goals, 12 assists, 5 player of the matches. He has got a season average rating of 6.98 and a league average rating of 7.04. This kid is special. And once you buy him and you get those stats developing, play him in the right position, surround him with the right players, he just gets better and better and better. I mean, it says that his best position is probably a winger, but he has managed those 32 goals from a striker's position. So you've got a wide player who can be a monster, you've got a striker who can be a monster. This kid is just special, and he's one that should be on your list. We did try to sign him earlier on in the save, actually, I will be honest. We went with a cheeky bid to Flamengo, but they decided that we couldn't buy him. And he also strangely said we weren't a big enough club. I suppose that was probably the case, having been only promoted from Serie B. But finally, in season 5, we got the 10.5 million deal over the line, and he became a superstar for the club. Another player to look out for is Peglo. He's one that we signed a couple of seasons ago, and he's fantastic as an attacking midfielder. Stats are everything that you would want in an attacking midfielder. He's quick, he's agile, he's athletic, pacey. He has great first touch, he can dribble, his passing range is ridiculous, his technique is good. And when you go in and look at his stats across the seasons that he's played for the club, he just gets better and better and better. We paid 14.25 million for him. The board felt it was a lot. I felt it was a bargain. When you look at his stats, everywhere he's played, from International to New York City, where he gained a 7 rating, he went out on loan to LAFC and got a 7 rating, and then since he has come to us, he has got a 7.06, 7.18, 7.30. He assists, he scores goals. Every single season, his goals tally is going up and up and up, and he is a player that I would recommend to anybody who is playing either in Brazil or has a team that's big enough to prize him away from International. You won't regret it. So that's that in terms of looking at the squad, looking at the finances. We've gone through the leagues. There's just one thing left to do, and that is the roll call, where we will show you exactly what we have won and the seasons that we won them. I think this has been a successful 5-year plan. So let's have a look at those all-important Roll of Honours. Okay, so this is the Roll of Honours for Red Bull Bragantino across our successful 5-year plan. So the Brazilian Serie A was won in 23 and 25. The Paulista Serie A was won in 21, 23, 24 and 25. The Copa do Brasil was won in 24 and 25. The Super Copa do Brasil, 24, 25. The Recopa Sudamericana was won in 25, and the Copa Libertadores was won in 24 and successfully defended in 2025. Okay, so that rounds out our 5 years in Brazil managing Red Bull Bragantino, and I think that was a pretty successful 5-year plan. So we have come in at the start when the team had just been promoted from Serie B. There was no real expectation on us to go and become world beaters, but we took it upon ourselves to sell the deadwood, bring in the right players. Nap's tactic performed fantastically. We then plugged up the defence when it needed to be plugged up, bought the wonder kids that we needed off the conveyor belt, and the ridiculous conveyor belt of wonder kids that are in Brazil. You just have to admire it, because every time you lose a player, you just go and look down the squads and there's one in there somewhere. All the under-23 players that we signed performed fantastically. We sold players on for a profit, left the club in a great financial position for the future, and most importantly, became a force in Brazilian football, a force in South American football, and the potential to be a worldwide force too. So, if you've enjoyed the series and you enjoyed the 5-year plan, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button to help my channel out. Leave any comments that you've got about future teams you want to see, or anything you want to ask about the saves that I've just done. Please leave them in the comments box. And until the next one, thank you for watching. Take care. Stay safe. I'll see you soon.